Yes. The future, for now, we will these grow into massive ferns. Continuing through the fence. The partner Daphne, humongous, and the cherry tree. We did some work on the juniper last week. Japanese maple, leafing buds, and again the remaining climbing rose bush. Minor aphid spore. Need to do some treatment on that one. This one is much more healthy. Today's job: plant out seeds. 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 Not at all blooming. It's starting to leaf out. The new short leaf, sorry, oak leaf hydrangea snowflake should have white blooms on it by some point this year. Find anything good? We didn't like having his nails clipped today. Well, retakes. Apparently I had my Sony setting that only captured 5 minutes of video, so I was losing anything older than 5 minutes. So here we come again, Clematis. This is April 13th, Tuesday. Just about freezing in the garden. Daphne. I think it doesn't have much time left. You can see it start wilting out. It's about 6:30 a.m. Sun just came over the horizon, so you're getting the darker version of this. Tulips. Any day, any week now should be going. So you can see the colors starting to come through. Lighter ones. Rosebush is doing well. I probably should have cleaned it down a little better before it started sprouting out. But most of last year's leaves had fallen off anyway. I fertilized it. The dog loves the bone meal fertilizer. The late frosts, or 33-degree mornings, 32-degree mornings just on the edge. I've browned up the edges of some of the earlier Clematis. The later ones, as you see, coming out. So you have this mix of somewhat rusty, somewhat frosty, with the others on top. But that didn't stop us from putting seed in. The frost isn't on the surface. Birds are loving the seed. We've got sweet peas, parsley, cilantro, basil, beets. There was some bok choy here. Crows had a feast. Peppers will go in that row. Carrots, in theory, will come up on this row. The arugula is the only bits actively growing. You can see some mixed lettuce coming up in between. I may need to re-sow that. There's a chance of setting out the chives and the lemon balm. Little tiny lemon balm. That little tomato is barely surviving. That little tomato is barely surviving. Dead, dead, dead. We go to the nursery and get some more. Let's see, where's the dog going? Ooh, we have neighbors. Good morning, Fletcher. Good morning, Fletcher. I'll say hi to you. So good to see you. Even if he doesn't pay attention to you, we will. You're such a good dog. He brings the toy, and then he takes it away, and they can't play. It's a defense. Going through what hopefully will one day be a garden path. We come up underneath the other Camellia, and you can see how the path is intended to go. All the way down to the back gate, and through the dogwood, you see the cherry tree blooming. But underneath, we have the last bits of the hellebores. Lost most of the color. We have fiddleheads coming up on the ferns. Anemones. I'll go back later to capture these wood anemones. They need full sun to bloom, and then they, once the shade hits, they close up. Good. Nice daisy-like flower. Dicentro, this would be the bleeding hearts, white and red. Again, funnel hellebores. A good greenery, good hope for those. They seem to have liked the space. The purple elderberry continuing to grow. Newest addition to the garden is actually the watering can for dipping. Hyacinths still going, amazingly. Agapanth is starting to refresh. No signs of life on carrots. We do have quite a bit of dandelion still growing. Snowdrops are just about done dropping. Looks like we get some form of seed on the bloodroot, trying to protect that one so it doesn't get trampled on by the dog. We're going to have some daffodils of some form. Renera. The top one didn't take up as much, a little drier of a space. Same here. Dry top, not so much as the second one, which is tripled in size, turned blue. single plant here again is starting to spread and grow, which is what it's supposed to do. Got some Pominaria here, and another one, free plant that came with campanulas. It is mostly dead. Might survive. Bad time to plant it. I want to say these are grape hyacinths, and we'll find out when they open. Possibly bluebells. And an update on the hydrangea. A little bit of blue coming in, a little bit of blue coming in. This one that overwintered, still completely green. I'm quite a ways off from getting any same year blossoms. Oh, here's the first you start to see in each of these buds. I don't know if you saw this, honey. We're already getting this year's blossoms starting to bud out inside the leaves here. I'm getting there. The Dogwood should go mid-May.
Maybe. I'll check my records.
Clematis. You're right, it is a little bit higher this year.
Camellias.
What did I call it?
Clematis.
Clematis. Camellia. Coffee. Oh, yeah, the leaves are coming out enough now that you can actually see why it's called oak leaf hydrangea, just by the shape of the leaf itself. And that is Hydrangea quercus snowflake. I don't have a picture of this one, but it is a large white blossom. And this, over the next few years, should gain 10 feet in width, which will be a monstrosity, at which point we'll have likely another bed around the base. But that's a future project for a future year. First, we need to sort out what goes next to the house, how to fill in along the fence with some taller grasses. The hostas will come in and fill some, but not for vertical space. And what to do for ground cover, other than ever-blooming dog blossom. This is what is blooming in the garden on April 13th, 2021 in Seattle. On the deck, her garden, thyme, starting to come back up, which means we need to trim the dead. Blooming rosemary throughout. Trim roses. That one died back. It might have a second run going. They're left over from last year. I can't remember what this is. Maybe a fuchsia. Might be leech coming up. Hard to say till it comes up. And then this is the cherry tree that you've seen from beneath, or will see from beneath. Could easily grow to a next level cascade tier where that would take it higher than the deck and overshade the garden below. So we're maintaining it to a single tier and increasing the spread year by year. Prior owner Um, Maintained it. Looks like maintained for a while, but had not had much love for 10 years before we moved in. And had moth damage. So really tight center, lots of short branches, lots of diseased branches. So for the last 2.5 years, been working it back, thinning it out, getting moth treatment on it. Another major cut to do this year to thin out the center while we're growing out the outer edges, but that's bringing a good bit of air to the middle. While opening up space for the rhododendrons beneath it. Similarly with the other rhododendron, which prior owner continually tried to top. The top was, it was spreading, the top was wispy and falling. So renovated the center and let the top grow for 2 years. Now you see you have this very thick top, complete with buds throughout, and the sides are no longer sagging. We lifted it up above the juniper below, cleared out the dead space in the juniper. Again, airflow throughout. We can almost walk around that rhododendron as a tree now. Not quite enough to have a sitting space underneath, but much more healthy. And we removed the ivy and Camellia and blackberry. As you can see further down, though, you see more blackberry coming down the hill and a holly tree infiltrating. So we've got some work to do there. And in the middle of this week, in fact tomorrow, these big leaf maples will be taken back down to stumps. Again, reducing down shade on the rear garden as well as clutter in the space. Long-term project there. You can see the offcuts here from the juniper to get an idea of how much dead growth was underneath. Then approaching 7 a.m., facing east across Lake Washington in Seattle, Washington on April 13th. This is what's blooming in the garden. And on a smaller scale, and at the kitchen sink, and the view from my window from my office. This is the payoff. Returning to the garden on the 14th, here is the wood anemone, the closed shaded form. As you can see, we get morning sun. It's currently 10 a.m. and as the sun rotates around, the shade will actually move back. Even we're currently facing north, but this shade line here move over because of the camellia bush as the sun gets over top of it. So even though it seems like it would get full sun in that location, it gets about half shade and only morning sun due to the camellia bush. Where this portion of the garden, looking kind of mangy, but is also winter morning shade and more afternoon shade in the winter because of the angle of the sun. But during summer is part to full sun in the center, moving into part shade into full shade because of this is under the Pacific dogwood tree. So, a little view of sunshine in the garden with wood anemone. April 14th, what's blooming? What's blooming April 16th? Bluebells. Finally. Give those another day, possibly later this morning. Two more days, and a whole lot more wood anemone. Camellia. Violet. Cold season arugula. Not so happy. It was 75 degrees yesterday. It will be 76 degrees Fahrenheit again today. 47 currently. Don't know what it'll be tomorrow. So some of these starting plants that needed to start to cool went from freezing to not freezing very fast. Into these. The highlights. Orange coming in today. Yesterday, the red tulips were the winners. First to open. Of course, they closed back up for the night. It will be a beauty today. We will be on the road. Dog thinks he's getting in the car. We're going to take a little bit of a drive. April 16th and grab a first COVID vaccination. Oh, good dog. Beet might live. Beet. No signs of beetroot coming up. Ooh, signs of carrots. Definitely need to water this before I leave this morning. First signs of carrots coming through. Next we have the latest addition, which is the watering can over the dipping pot. Dicentra coming in. Really need to weed this section of the garden for it to fell apart. Bleeding heart's going to take another few weeks. This is what's blooming in the garden. April 16th. April 17th. The daffodils are finally blooming. And a stray yellow tulip that was left behind. Clematis, still going, April 17th. Tulips are in. Orange. And red. And white. And more and more and more and more and more. Roughly 1 month later, we have sprouted carrots. Lettuces, arugulas, rather spicy at this stage. Lemon balm may survive. Basil was dug up by crows. What's blooming April 19th, 2021? The Pacific Dogwood has started blooming yesterday. Started open a little bit 2 days ago, Saturday. Not quite in full bloom yet. And it's been warm enough this year that the leaves are coming out at the same time. By the time it's in full bloom, it'll have leaves and be nice contrast. Their lungwort still going strong. Daffodils have joined with is that Iphion or Scilla? I have to look that up. Dandelion in the bellflowers. Also need to look up. These look like snowdrops, but they're huge. These are delightful. They're falling over this, so I'll probably cut them off and put them inside. Wood anemones have filled in. Sweet woodruff starting to get ready to bloom. And as desired, it's coming up through the rock pile. You can see the fiddleheads on the fern getting ready to fill back in. Camellia is in its somewhat ugly state, where you have mature free flows and blooms dying in place, while you have myriad other buds getting ready to go. This gets even better when they get soggy and rained on, and then you have this massive plant that just wants to sag down. I'll have some work to do, so trimming back and also working on some structural issues that the prior caretaker caused. Fine to do a heading cut, but there was nothing after it, no after caretaking in the following years. It was just sheared. So then letting it grow, a bunch of weak structure on the outside. You'll recall this was going in February, now in March, now in April. Here it continues to bloom. We also continue to have newly developing seeds, old developing seeds, last year's seed pods, everything dropping on at the same time. Putting on new growth in the center, which I will thin out. That is delightful, dog. Thank you. Pansies. Oh, violas. These are pansies. More camellia. More half-frozen camellia, and a week after a freeze, you can see the dying camellia coming off. Again, with full fresh blooms behind. This is the month of April, with cleanup in the month of May. Tulips in full bloom. No buds on the rose yet. And the Clematis working its last with a field of lavender. Some, there we go, lavender buds. It appears that my supposition is correct. This is wild columbine that should bloom any day now in the partial dry shade that is the northwest corner of the house. This one over here also. Baby fern. Fiddle heads. Uncurling. Oh, wow. Daphne in a pot that sat in water for a year and stunted itself, or we stunted it. We flipped the base of the pot over the winter, give it a little love, more topped up potting soil, a little bit of fertilizer, not much, and now we see the blooms coming on. Hopefully it's not the last bloom before death. So a little bit of post-bloom fertilizer would be a good call on that one. Hydrangea, April 19th. Remember, this is the bract that sat all winter. It is blooming green, not white, not pink, not blue. These that were leaf protected is coming in mostly blue. These green blue. So these will get started and larger and should come in fully blue. And then the later ones will be obviously larger and better. More to come. What is blooming on the 25th of April? Daphne. Hydrangea, sort of. Bluebells. What appears to be native columbine. Verdera, Pominaria. Sweet woodruff, which is the vigorous spreading ground cover. I'm quite pleased with because it fills in lots of space that would otherwise be uncovered by anything other than dandelions. Oh, the daffodils had a bad night. Apparently they got wet and fell over. These need to be snipped and brought inside for decoration. This Scilla closed down with the shade. The white ones did. The blue ones are still fine. The name that I can't pronounce, but we'll look up and post in the notes in a link. There's supposed to be several of these. Not many of them bloomed. So I don't know if I just put them in too late. Well, we can get a bloom off of this one, bloom off of that one. I hope these naturalize. I want a little more of a mix. We'll see how it comes together. These weeds are not grass. These weeds are carrots. What else do we have coming along here? Hostas, breaking ground. Peonies. You can already see the bud on the new one. And you can see the buds here. This is April 25th, and we have buds on hostas, on peonies. Bleeding hearts in the last week have burst forth and are blooming. These are both red. I had a memory of one being red and one being white, but apparently that was only in my memory. Or I will go back and check the manifest and make sure that they sent me the right stuff. See, the hellebores going great for greenery with some sweet woodruff on top of them. And then this is the Black Sambuca elderberry. You see the elderberry flowers starting to come on. These will bloom in about a week. It'll be pretty nice. We don't get fruit off of this one, or haven't, either because of lack of cross-pollination, or the fruit sets, barely sets, and the birds just eat it off, which is fine. We're not planning to do any elderberry jam or elderberry wine. It's just, even with a bush this size, would be more of a pain than it's worth. Camellia, still going. Tulips, still going. You see, Camellia is in full bloom and falling over, and as many on the ground as on the plant. Still going. Pierre is still going. Now you have new growth coming in the light green, while you have the flowers still on. I think you might be able to, the flowers fall off, the seeds have already come off of that one. But it will snow when that falls down, and you can see the ground litter. More Camellia. The dog. This round of violas about gone. Pansies falling down, getting ready for another set. Tulips in full bloom. Clematis has dropped its petals just in time for the first leaves on fig and buds on the lavender. April 25th, fern growth. Fiddleheads have gone into complete heads. Way up. And down here we have Lily of the Valley popping up. Rolls. And what are you doing, dog? Get out. Out, out, out.